The worst part is nobody told me when it happened. There wasn't a warning, just one day I looked in the mirror and recognized the person I swore I'd never become. I used to judge people like me, the distant ones, the cold ones, the ones who stopped answering texts, the ones who left without explanations, the ones who built walls and called them boundaries. I used to think they were selfish, broken, heartless. Then life started taking things from me, and suddenly everything I hated started making sense. That's how it happens. Not through choice, through survival. I became what I hated, not because I wanted to, because somewhere along the way being soft started hurting too much. I became what I hated, the unread messages, the locked doors, the emotional distance, the version of me that nobody could reach. The funny thing is, pain doesn't always make you stronger. Sometimes it makes you suspicious, sometimes it makes you tired, sometimes it teaches you how to disappear while still being in the room. I stopped telling people when something was wrong, stopped asking for help, stopped believing anyone would stay long enough to understand. And every time someone got close, I found a reason keep them far away. I called it independence, but maybe I was just scared. I became what I hated, the person who leaves first, the person who expects the worst, the person who keeps one foot out the door even when they're in love. I became what I hated, and the saddest part, I didn't even notice. Not at first. There was a girl I used to be. She trusted people too much. She believed apologies, believed promises, believed that if she loved hard enough, people would stay. I miss her sometimes, not because she was happier, because she was brave, brave enough to risk getting hurt, brave enough to hope, brave enough to believe tomorrow could be different from yesterday. Maybe heartbreak doesn't destroy who you are. Maybe it convinces you to abandon parts of yourself. Or maybe healing isn't becoming someone new. Maybe it's finding your way back. The realization came quietly, like most important things do. No breakdown, no dramatic ending, just an ordinary night, an ordinary conversation. Someone cared about me, and instead of feeling safe, I felt trapped. That's when I knew the danger wasn't them, it was what fear had turned me into. I spent years blaming people for teaching me pain, but I never questioned why I kept building my life around it. I wore disappointment like a second skin, expected abandonment, expected betrayal, expected losses of being prepared could somehow make it hurt less. But all it did was make me lonely before anyone even left. I became what I hated, but that's not where the story ends, because becoming something isn't the same thing as being stuck there. I became what I hated, then I saw it, then I named it, then I stopped pretending it was protecting me. I became what I hated, but maybe awareness is where healing begins. I still catch pieces of it sometimes. The distance, the fear, the urge to run when things start feeling real. But now I notice, and that changes everything, 'cause monsters don't usually know they're monsters. Patterns don't usually know their patterns. But become something you swore you'd never be. Just having the courage to look at it honestly and decide what happens next. Because the mirror didn't scare me the day I recognized myself. What scared me was realizing I still had time to become someone else. For a while, I thought awareness would fix everything, like recognizing the problem would somehow solve it. But knowing and changing turned out to be two completely different things. I could see the patterns, I could name them, I could trace them back to the exact moments they were born, and still they showed up still. My instincts reached for familiar exits still. Fear volunteered to make decisions I never asked it to make. Old versions of yourself don't disappear overnight. They linger, waiting to see if you'll invite them back. I became what I hated, and even after admitting it, pieces of that person kept following me. Not because they belonged there, because they were comfortable. Because familiarity can disguise itself as safety. Nobody talks about how awkward healing feels. You spend years learning one way to survive, then suddenly you're expected to trust something different, to believe people when they say they care, to accept kindness without searching for hidden conditions, to receive love without immediately preparing for its departure. That kind of change feels unnatural at first, like writing with the wrong hand. Growth isn't always beautiful. Sometimes it looks like hesitation. Sometimes it sounds like silence. Sometimes it feels like learning how to walk on unfamiliar ground. I remember sitting alone one evening, no distractions, no music, no notifications, just me. And for the first time I noticed something strange. The constant tension I'd carried for years wasn't there. Not completely, not permanently, just absent for a moment, a single moment. But it mattered because it proved something I never thought possible. Peace wasn't a myth, it was a place, and somehow I had finally visited. Smallest victories usually arrive quietly. That's why so many people miss them. I became what I hated, but slowly I became something else too. Someone more honest, someone more present, someone willing to stay in the room when emotions got uncomfortable, someone willing to stop running. The hardest conversations were the ones I had with myself, not about the past, about the future, about who I wanted to be. Once survival stopped being my full-time job, I had spent so long avoiding pain that I never asked what kind of life I actually wanted, what made me happy, what excited me, what felt meaningful. Those questions used to terrify me because they required hope, and hope always felt dangerous. But maybe hope isn't dangerous, maybe it's vulnerable, and maybe vulnerability only feels frightening because it asks us to believe in things we can't guarantee. I started noticing people, not the way they could hurt me, the way they showed up, the way they remembered details, the way they stayed consistent, the way they chose kindness when nobody was watching. I realized I had spent years studying reasons to leave and almost no time studying reasons to stay. No wonder the world felt unstable. I was only collecting evidence for one side of the argument. Maybe becoming what I hated was never the ending. Maybe it was the warning, the moment life stopped me and forced me to look closer. Because sometimes the most important discoveries don't happen when everything falls apart. They happen you're finally honest enough to admit something isn't working, to admit you've outgrown old defenses, to admit the person you've become isn't necessarily the person you're meant to remain. I became what I hated, but that realization opened a door, a difficult door, a painful door, a necessary door, the door that led me back to myself. Not the version that existed before the damage, a wiser version, a stronger version, a version that understood the difference between protection and isolation. I used to think transformation happened in dramatic moments, big decisions, big speeches, big turning points. Now I think it happens differently in ordinary choices, in everyday moments, in tiny acts nobody applauds, answering honestly, staying when you'd rather leave, trusting when fears suggest otherwise, speaking kindly to yourself when criticism feels easier. That's where change lives, not in grand gestures and repetition and practice and patience. The mirror still reflects me, but not the same me. The person staring back looks softer somehow, not weaker, just less afraid. And maybe that's enough. Maybe becoming what I hated wasn't the tragedy. Maybe staying there would have been, because every day since then I've been learning the truth I wish I'd known sooner. Awareness begins the story, choice continues it, and the person you're meant to remain. I became what I hated, but that realization opened a door, a difficult door, a painful door, a necessary door, the door that led me back to myself. Not the version that existed before the damage, a wiser version, a stronger version, a version that understood the difference between protection and isolation. I used to think transformation happened in dramatic moments, big decisions, big speeches, big turning points. Now I think it happens differently in ordinary choices, in everyday moments, in tiny acts nobody applauds, answering honestly, staying when you'd rather leave, trusting when fear suggests otherwise, speaking kindly to yourself when criticism feels easier. That's where change lives, not in grand gestures and repetition, in practice, in patience. The mirror still reflects me, but not the same me. Old versions of yourself don't disappear overnight. They linger waiting to see if you'll invite them back. I became what I hated, and even after admitting it, pieces of that person kept following me. Not because they belonged there, because they were comfortable, because familiarity can disguise itself as safety. Nobody talks about how awkward healing feels